Hi, I'm Heidi Villegas with Healing Harvest Homestead. I am a community and practicing clinical herbalist. I'm also a certified level 2 aromatherapist with NAHA and AIA, and I am a homesteader, a writer, and a teacher. And one of my favorite things to do in the whole entire world is to teach about natural living and herbalism specifically, because it has radically changed my life, and it's changed hundreds of students' lives that I know of, as well as clients. So the thing is that the plants and the herbs, they're available for us right in our backyards. I have a belief that God planted and gave us the plants for our food and medicine, and He gave us every single thing we need. And human beings have a really nice way of messing things up, don't they? So basically, when you can turn to the items that we were given for our health and our benefit, then how much more powerful are we going to be? But you might personally be wondering, hey, why on earth should I, stop going to the drugstore? Why should I not go buy that pill or that bottle of pills and use that for a headache? Why should I turn to plant medicine instead? And so I'm going to go ahead and share a few stories with you. But before I do that, we're going to go into some facts, and then we're actually going to make a home remedy that's super fast and easy. A lot of people think they don't have time to make their own home remedies, but the fact is most of them can be made in moments, and even at a moment's notice, and even with kitchen items. So it's not rocket science. It's a skill that we used to have that has been uneducated out of us over the last 150 years by the combination of the American Medical Association, big pharma, insurance companies, and all the money people in the world. So, it's time for us to take that power back. So let's just go ahead and talk very quickly about, and I could go on and on about this next section. I could give you fact after fact after fact, but I'm going to give you some of the main ones. And then I'm going to tell you about something that happened with my own son, and then something that happened with one of my 4th grade students when I was still teaching elementary school. But pretty much, over-the-counter drugs are misused, and they're overused, and they're abused. The main culprits are acetaminophen or NSAIDs, pain relievers, cough syrups, which are semi-narcotics, pseudoephedrine and cold medicine, cold and allergy medications, diet medications, pain medications, which I just mentioned, and then deaths. These over-the-counter drugs cause death. They cause liver and kidney issues over time. They cause gastric upsets. They cause, hospitalizations. It's crazy what over-the-counter drugs do that herbs don't. Everybody wants us to think that herbs are dangerous and herbs are scary. But the fact is that if you actually look at the hospitalizations that occur because of what people are putting into their bodies, it's generally, and if you had to nail it down to herbs or over-the-counter or prescription drugs, it's going to be drugs. It's not going to be herbs. People aren't hospitalized necessarily for drinking calendula tea. They're just not. Anyway, but I want you to know a few things here. One of them is that children and teens are the most at risk for over-the-counter drug abuse. They just simply don't understand that there's a limit to how much they can take. That is an actual fact that came from the Lighthouse Recovery Institute this year, by the way. A drug addiction from over-the-counter drugs is very difficult to spot in people. Maybe you've known a friend. I had a friend one time who loved to take the nasal decongestant sprays. And there was one in particular that he would use, and I'm not going to say the brand name, but it was very common. He was addicted. He could not stop using it. And if he tried to stop, he couldn't breathe, because what he had done was change the mucosal membrane situation in his sinuses. The dose matters. A lot of times children and teens will take too much. Adults do too as well. Did you know that 80,000 people are hospitalized each year for acetaminophen overdose? That's the pain reliever that's in many common over-the-counter pain relievers that we reach for, and sleep aids and menstrual pain aids. It's very, very common, and people are hospitalized because of it. And did you know that approximately 3.1 million people aged 12 to 25 have actually used over-the-counter cough medications to get high? That's because it contains a chemical called dextromethorphan, which the American Pediatric Society states is not safe for children under the age of 6, and yet the directions on the bottles often say it is. And so it's just shameful. 1 in 8, 12% of teens admit to using cough syrups in order to get a response that's not for a cough. In other words, it's drug abuse. So, right there, when you just look at those little facts, that I wasn't aware of years ago when I was raising my kids, didn't have a clue, not a clue. It was when my son, I have a football player son who actually got an ulcer from taking a very common over-the-counter medication and that contained ibuprofen, and he was a football player. So he was told by his doctor, his trainer on the team, and his father to take this over-the-counter drug and to take it often, and it was within the guidelines of the dosage. Well, he got an ulcer. And when I took him to the doctor after he complained that his stomach hurt so bad he couldn't eat, that we found out that he had this ulcer, it was horrifying to me. I thought, oh my gosh, I have failed as a mother. It was one of the worst experiences of my life. I was very angry. No child should ever get an ulcer for trying to deal with pain from something that is supposed to be safe, that is easily purchased in the store. Not ever. But anyway, I digress. I could go on and on about this, and I'm going to stop right now. One quick story I do want to tell you, because this is very, very important as well, and something to consider. So let's talk about fevers for a moment and what our body's trying to do. Our body shows us symptoms when we are trying to fight things off, and it does certain things to us on purpose. So when we get that runny nose, it's because our body is trying to help us heal from an allergen or something else. When we get a fever, our body is trying to actually kill off microorganisms that are inside our body that are hurting us. And so the fever response is actually healthy, and we don't like it. It's uncomfortable. So, the humans always want to just get something that makes them feel better, okay, instead of maybe supporting the body through the healing process. So I had a student one year, 4th grade little boy, and he got sick. He came down with a sinus infection, an ear infection, his head. Like many children and adults too, get these kinds of infections. And no worries. His grandmother, who was taking care of him, took him to the doctor. The doctor gave him an antibiotic and told her to give him an over-the-counter pain reliever to bring the fever down. Well, she did. A week later, he was still sick. And then another week later, he was still sick. And she continued to do as the doctor said. Well, eventually he went into a coma. He was hospitalized, and he was in the hospital for nearly 3 weeks. And what happened is it emerged that his body wasn't able to fight off the microorganisms and heal, because that fever was always being kept low enough that it wasn't allowed to do its job. And the doctors didn't know, because his fever was never evident because of the medications, and he could have died. So this is an example of when you are having some miscommunications with the medical community and what you're doing at home, which is so common, some very dangerous things can happen. My little student was so fortunate, because he came out of everything okay. He got better, and what a blessing that was. But the fact of the matter is that doctors do make mistakes. We make mistakes, and herbs are the gentlest response. So when we're dealing with common ailments and minor illnesses, truly, you guys, herbs are way better than over-the-counter drugs. And I'm not saying you should never go to the doctor. Not saying that at all. But I am saying that perhaps we need to give our old traditional methods a try and see how they actually work to heal us. I have my own stories, and I'll share that in another video. But basically, here are a few reasons that I've learned from my own experiences, as well as talking with hundreds and hundreds of other people about why you should bother using medicinal herbs instead of over-the-counter drugs. So number one is you don't want the toxic side effects anymore, and you don't want toxic chemicals in your body. I hear this over and over and over from people, myself included. The thought of putting a pain reliever pill into my body at this point, after not using any over-the-counter or prescription drugs in about 10 years now, just about kills me. I can't even imagine it, because I have all these other wonderful natural options that work better for us. So that's the first reason. The second reason that most people will say that they want to go ahead and turn to herbal medicine is that they want to actually heal instead of covering up their symptoms. And that has to do with the story I just told you. In fact, with my son and his ulcer too, he was not healing the pain in his knees. He had terrible growing pains. What he was doing was covering it up and making a bad situation a lot worse. And that's what over-the-counter drugs often do. They cover things up, they make you feel a little bit better for a moment, but your body isn't healing from them. Now, if you're using appropriate herbs and common remedies that actually support the body's healing process, you can do some amazing things and get better a lot faster. The third one is the supply chain. Now, the supply chain is something that is going to be variable depending on where we're at. But we saw issues with the supply chain last year, and we keep hearing that they're coming up again. I've been talking with some people, and they say that, yes, store shelves are looking a little bleak. You know, the fact is, whether we have a fully stocked grocery store or not, where we're at, the fact of the matter is we don't know what's going to happen. And so it's a really good idea to have yourself be prepared at home to take care of things that you need to take care of. And then the other one is that many people just want to be medically prepared. They want to be able to know that no matter what happens, they know how to use certain plants that grow in their native environment to keep them well. And those are really the main reasons why people decide they want to turn to herbal medicine instead of OTCs or over-the-counter drugs and even prescription drugs. There are many other reasons, I'm sure. Those are the main ones. I know as a mom, now that I know what I know now, if I were a young mother, I don't think I'd be putting any over-the-counter drug into my children without trying at least an herbal remedy first. I just wouldn't. You guys, herbs are amazing. They heal on a slower basis, but on a longer term basis, and they keep us well. They keep us well. So you can actually alleviate many of your illnesses just by paying attention to, certain herbs on a daily basis and having good lifestyle habits. I want you to imagine something, and then we're going to go ahead and make a cough syrup together. I want you to imagine that when your child is coughing in the next room, and it's that hacking, horrible cough, and it just scares you to death. Imagine being able to reach into your cupboard and grab your 2-ingredient homemade cough syrup that is clinically proven to work better than those over-the-counter toxic dextromethorphan-filled cough syrups that were being sold. Wouldn't that be amazing? I'm going to show you right now, we're going to make this together, a 2-ingredient cough syrup that, again, based on a study done in 2007, is clinically shown, the honey is clinically shown to be more soothing to coughs than this chemical dextromethorphan that we all think we need to have. Let's go ahead and make this together, and you are going to see that instead of running to the grocery store if your child's coughing in the next room, instead of leaping into the car and running down there and spending $10 on some really expensive toxic chemical concoction that you have to bring back home and force down your child's throat. You know what? You can create very quickly and easily a natural, delicious, healthy, good for you homemade cough syrup that works better. I mean, is there even a choice there? So let's go ahead and learn how to make this cough syrup. And I'm so pleased that you're going to learn this with me. All right, so I've got my butcher block work counter here, and please excuse the stains. I was working with black walnut not too long ago to create an infused oil and a tincture, and it stained it up a little bit, but it's perfectly fine to use. But anyway, you know, I just want to talk about, before we get into how to make this quick recipe, I want to talk about something called the pill mentality. So the pill mentality is something that we've all grown up with. In fact, I would say even our grandparents grew up with it, for most of us, for many of us. And we've all bought into this idea that we have to go to a doctor and we have to take a pill instead of just handling things ourselves. And this is because, I think I mentioned it earlier in this video, but Big Pharma and the AMA, the American Medical Association, they've kind of teamed up and decided to put herbal medicine into a dark corner and hope that we all go away and that people don't learn about it so that they can sell us our pills. And so now we all have this belief that we've grown up with. So it's ingrained in us, you guys, where we have to go get a pill. And I'm just going to tell you, it took me decades to get over that myself. And I'm now a diehard herbalist and don't take any of those pills. So I know it's alive and well in most people. And it's a matter of once you start using the herbs and you realize they work, and you realize how amazing they are, it's incredible. And it just makes everybody I know who has experienced the benefits of herbal medicine just can't believe that they haven't done this earlier in their lives and that they didn't know. And the fact is that the powers that be don't want us to know. So it's up to us to take our power back. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and start making this cough syrup really fast. And while I do, I'm going to just share a few other things with you. So what I've got here is a cut up red onion. This is a small red onion. This one happened to have come from my garden, but you can buy red onions in the grocery store. And I've got a wide mouth pint quart jar here. I'm just going to use my hands. I'm going to scoop the chopped up onion into the jar. So you can see I've got it's about halfway full. It doesn't have to be that full. If it is over full, it's okay too. There's so much variability in this. And then I've got some honey, and I'm gonna just pour this over I didn't measure this out. I just kind of put some in a bowl. So I might need to add some more honey. But you want the onion pieces to be fully covered by the honey. Okay, so do you know how a moment ago I told you that the honey is clinically proven to actually be better, especially for kids, than that dextromethorphan cough syrup stuff that they sell you in the stores? With this cough syrup, you've also got the compounds, including the anthocyanins from the onions. And this combination right here, as simple and easy as it is, this is like one of grandmother's old folk remedies right here, you guys. It's really hundreds of years old. But this simple combination can help you get better faster, and it really does soothe and alleviate a cough, and it helps you to even breathe a little bit better. So it is just a wonderful little remedy to have in your toolbox. Okay, in fact, during the winter time, I do not let us run out of red onion. I just don't. And we never run out of honey. I always make sure we have raw honey in the cupboards. Now, just so you know, and you probably already do know this if you're a mom, but you don't want to be giving raw honey to infants under the age of 12 months. And that's because there is a little bit of a risk of the botulism spores. Now, I know that the old time pioneers did not ever hesitate to give raw honey to their children, and I don't think there were a whole lot of issues or problems. Now that we have modern science and modern studies that are telling us some things that we didn't know before, we can actually make some good decisions for ourselves. So now, what you do at this point is you're going to just get a cover. You know, you could even just use one of the mason jar lids and set it on top. And you want to just set this aside in a, on the countertop, or you set it near the stove top or a wood stove if you've got one, not directly on it. You don't want it heating up too hot. But if you have a warmer place, it's helpful. What's going to happen here is the onions are going to start releasing their juices into the honey, and eventually, after an hour or 2 or 4, depending on how warm or cold your house is, you're going to get a layer of syrup floating on the top. And you can just scoop it out with a spoon, take a spoonful, and you're all set. So the shelf life on this, this will last up to a week or so on the counter. And if you want to refrigerate it, you'll get a good 2 weeks, possibly more out of it. If you're dealing or struggling with a cough, it's probably going to be gone within a short period of time, and you can just keep making more. You saw how easy it was. I want to talk about a couple of my students really fast too, and then I'll just share with you some things I'm going to give to you. My friend Sandy, her husband, when she came to me, her husband was really having trouble breathing. In fact, that's why she reached out. And over the years I've been working with her, we've steadily been able to improve her husband's breathing. And she's also been working with a local herbalist where she lives in her state. So between all the things, she's brought her husband from a place where he was almost dying and he was really in some trouble to now he's healthy. His quality of life is incredibly improved, and his doctors are amazed. Okay, and I could just go on. Another student, Sarah, wrote to me the other day, and she told me, she said, hey, I have to tell you this. She's a newer student. She says, she goes, I made some magnesium oil to spray on my husband's legs, and he laughed at me and wouldn't take it. Well, he gets leg cramps, and so one night he couldn't sleep at all. And so she spritzed the magnesium oil spray on his legs, and they stopped cramping. He went back to sleep. The next night, they decided to spray it on, and they didn't cramp up at all. He had a great night's sleep. The next night, he decided he didn't want to have the spray, and he decided just to go to sleep. His legs cramped up. They put the spray on, and it helped again. So you can see, you guys, that's a simple fix, and it works, and you can do all kinds of things like this that are easy, they're inexpensive, they're useful, they're extremely valuable. A lot of people think that learning how to use herbs is too hard. You just saw how easy it is. And all of these things I have over here and in my apothecary area of the house, they're all easy to make. You might think it takes too much time. You know what? You saw how fast this was. This is about how fast most herbal preparations actually take of your physical time. A lot of times you have to wait for the preparation to be ready, as in the case of a tincture. But honestly, your physical time creating the product is it's very, 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 very minimal. And money. Some people just don't want to spend the money. You guys, you can grow your own plants. If money is really an issue, you can grow your own plants. You can also buy high quality herbs from bulk herb stores. The key here is knowing what herbs to buy, how much to buy, and knowing what you want to make. And I'm going to help you with that. All right. So in the next video, we're going to kind of dive a little more deeply into a cost analysis of what it actually costs to make an herbal preparation versus a drugstore drug. We already kind of did that already with this little cough syrup. We're talking pennies here, and as for us, pretty much it was almost free. It was the cost of the honey because the onion was grown in our garden. But I could have gone and bought and spent $10 or so on cough syrup that's unhealthy for me. So we kind of already looked at that, but we'll go deeper in the next video. And we're also going to see how to make a different kind of a remedy that is very, very common, that is going to be extremely useful for you. So when you're done with this little video series, you're going to have some remedies that you can easily make at home, that you can start using right away, and are not going to cost you a lot of money. And I'm going to give you a couple of things in the meantime. One of the things I'd like to offer you is my Herbal Remedies Guide. You can download this from the front side of my website or on any of the YouTube videos I've done, and I will put it in the link below. But if you don't have it already, you may already have it, you can grab this for free, okay? And it's just a handy little guide to 10 common herbs that you can easily get, like garlic and lavender and rosemary. Most of these things you can buy in your store, and it's a gift to you. All right, so we're gonna sign off now, and what I'd like you to do for me is share your comments below. If you could please share your comments. Let me know what you thought of this video. Let me know what your biggest concerns are. What are your fears? What are your hopes about using herbal medicine in your life and making that step into better health? Go ahead and share with me. I'd love to hear from you. And if you have any questions, please leave those too. All right, I'm HeidiVillegas, and I'm going to sign off now, and it was really great talking with you. I hope you enjoyed this video.